So that way everybody can start getting their little notifications that things are live. Apparently, even I get those now. Like get an email or whatever saying this is live on your channel. I'm like,
I mean, that's good to know.
Yeah,
gets on your
it'd be weird if it wasn't me. I don't know what I'd do about that. Well, okay. I guess I should watch this, get my watch time up, maybe.
Yeah. Somebody's got to put the work in for you.
Exactly. And if people want to come over here and make videos for me, that's going to free up a lot of my time. I'll tell you what. All right. So let's see. Make sure I got my little loosely typed up notes, mostly just so I could remember some things I wanted to refer to. Because tag team wrestling covers a whole bunch of ground. So
many years too.
Oh yeah, I mean, because I'm right. Even outside of what I watched live, I still have like the back history of things. And Coffee, what is going on, man? See, he jumped into the chat. All right. So, real quick though, before we go jumping on into things, we can go ahead and knock out a little bit of an introductional type of situation. So, Derek, we'll go ahead and kick things off with you. Go ahead and tell some people things about you.
Just good old Southern boy. Grew up in Tennessee, where, I think it's like, God, football, wrestling, and then family on those tiers of things that you should enjoy and appreciate in your life. And I think that's a pretty good introduction for me.
All right. Hey, I totally get it. All right. And Jezzy?
Yeah. As same with Derek, Deep South Wrestling, Jimmy Christ and all those other good things. But yeah, you can find me on YouTube at Jezzy Christ, aka Thriller, and also on Instagram at Jezzy Christ 1. But yeah, basically like Derek said, it's football, wrestling, God, family, and that's about it.
Yeah, it's funny. Wrestling definitely has a very wide appeal. So, and then basically what we're going to be going over here. So I could introduce myself, but again, like if you found your way here, I think we're good. So here's the thing, right? We like to do this every month as long, things line up for us. And we have different topics. Sometimes it's specific things, maybe we'll recap a certain pay-per-view. Days like this, it's more open. So all we're really going to be talking about is just tag team stuff, right? So whether that's favorite matches, memorable moments, whether they were good or bad, we're going to talk about like some tag teams that we think would have been cool, like just kind of making stuff up, take a guy from over here, a guy from over there, basically whatever. And there's no limit to it. It's not like we're only talking about the recent, 2015 to 2020 or whatever. No, it's anything's on the playing field. If you happen to want to go back and talk about something that Tully Blanchard did in '84, I can't contribute to that conversation, but I will welcome it. So, and of course, if anybody wants to jump in, the link is in the chat, so we're welcome to having you guys as well. But so we're going to kick things off with, we'll start with some favorite tag teams. So, Derek, we'll start with you since we start with you on the introductions. When you think of tag teams, what are some teams that come to mind for you?
So I would say probably one of the tag teams that come to my mind right off the bat is the Hardy Boys, and that's not just because of your shirt. I would say the Hardy Boys were probably my favorite tag team growing up. As far as like people worthy of like tag team titles and things like that. But probably one of my second favorites was Too Cool.
Oh yeah. I think I have to. When you said that, I was thinking Too Cold Scorpion. I'm like, that's a single. Like that's not. So that was
not him. do like the guy, but different tag team.
All right, yeah, man, I forgot about Too Cool, because that was, I mean, it became a triple or a triplet or whatever you want to call it, but
Yeah, they didn't have too much success. I think maybe they were Scotty and Grandmaster were tag team champions once, if I recall.
I think it was
twice. Because I know Scotty and Rikishi won it back
right
during like the
3.
Yeah, back when they were on SmackDown.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to consider that still Too Cool, but to me, I thought Too Cool was mainly Scotty and Grandmaster, and then Rikishi, and then Rikishi was part of Too Cool, I guess, after the fact. But when Grandmaster left, and then like Scotty was doing his thing, and then Rikishi was doing his thing, and then they pretty much put them back together. Right. To me, it didn't feel like Too Cool, like it did back in the day, if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
No,
I totally get that. And the crazy thing about Too Cool is like they may not have been one of the most successful teams as far as like championship reigns and whatnot, but kind of like what some people were talking about with like people like Roddy Piper and Scott Hall as far as singles, like they never had like the main titles, but they also didn't need it because like they had the fans, they had the attention, they had everything else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I'd put Too Cool in there in that category. Like they could have, nobody would have argued if they had the belts more often. You know?
Yeah. I mean, that was never one of my complaints. I was just always excited to see them. Like, you got a guy in the middle of the ring doing the worm as a finisher. Like, I mean, that was awesome. Fun fact, that's also the reason why I learned how to do the worm back in the day.
And that's cool. I cannot do that. I mean, maybe if I with proper training and safety precautions, but I'm a little older now.
It takes a lot of core strength.
Yeah, right.
I mean, yeah, because it does look cool though, because I would see him doing it. Otis does it to some extent too. So it's a cool little thing. It's one of those, like in a lot of wrestling, there's often something that you see a lot. It's more of like the spectacle of seeing it than what it actually accomplishes.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Because he didn't need to do the worm part. It added nothing to like that final chop or whatever he was.
Yeah.
Now, do you happen to have any teams that you weren't a fan of?
That I wasn't a fan of?
Yeah, someone you just couldn't get into for whatever reason. Or maybe you thought they were just a little overrated or something.
We'll probably have to go to Jezzy and let me think about that one.
Yeah, think about it. Come on, and we'll come back. So Jezzy, what about your favorite teams?
My favorite team, Hardy Boys is definitely in there, but I mean my favorite team, but they were utilized, but I feel like they weren't like overly used, was probably the Brothers of Destruction. Like they've had success, but I feel like that was just kind of one of those things where, well, if y'all not doing anything as singles wrestlers, let's just put y'all together and just run amok.
I will say, like, just purely for the nostalgia, going to Survivor Series in 2015, that was my main draw. Like seeing Kane and The Undertaker in a tag team match.
Right.
Like I knew what I was getting into by watching that match, but I wanted to see it happen. I think they went against the Wyatt family or something.
Right. But I will say this, Kane and Undertaker, like when they're not together, like they've had like some of the most oddest tag team runs with other people besides each other.
Yeah. Like
Mankind, X-Pac, The Rock, like each one of them had like different runs with each one of
Big Show.
Right, Big Show. RVD, Daniel Bryan. It's like when you tag with either one of them, you automatically get the benefit from each one.
And it's like with Kane, I mean, and same with Undertaker, I guess, like if you've been there for 20 years, I guess you should kind of expect to have a few different partners. But
right.
I mean, I totally see what you're saying though. Like he had a wide run, and then Undertaker had a couple teams as well. you know, because I know him and Austin was a team at some point.
Him and Austin, Mankind and Undertaker, and The Rock and Undertaker, and Kane had X-Pac. Dan Bryan was just a replacement X-Pac in my view.
Yeah. Speaking of, it just came to my, like, on the subject of teams that kind of stand out in weird ways, like the team of X-Pac and Prince Albert, like that stands out as something that I
X-Factor
forget happened. Like, and then Justin Credible was in there to some extent. Like that is I think it was called X Factor.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
and their entrance music was oh man, what was his name?
Was it that Uncle Cracker song?
Yeah, Uncle Cracker. Just like,
and it's like, I see that and I'm like, wait, when did this happen?
Yeah, it's one of those things. That's probably one of those teams like that you're like, I wasn't really a fan of. I would have to say it would be them. Like individually, I like those guys, but as a team, I couldn't get behind it.
No, I was a huge Justin Credible fan with the Impact players, him and Lance Storm. I always thought X-Pac was cool when he was doing his NWO or his DX thing. Prince Albert, I know he was with Draws at some point, and that was fine. But I was never like
Test and Trish.
Oh, and
TNA.
Yeah, he was with Scotty Too Hottie. The hip hop.
Hey, the Wise Soul, what's going on, man? Appreciate you stopping through, even though
what's going on, Wise Soul?
But
I see Homegrown in that too.
Yeah, I'm telling you, like Homegrown. I know I put the link in there, but I guess he might be a little busy or something.
Yeah.
But there are those teams out there that you look at them and they come up in conversation from time to time. You have to really think back to like, why did that happen? Like remember Billy and Chuck?
It was interesting. That was for sure.
Yes, it was. That's mostly all you can say about that. And
I
feel like neither of them. I don't remember who.
Charlie Haas and Rico.
Oh yeah.
I
completely forget that Rico was even a person.
Yeah.
You know? Like, man, that was.
He had the chops though. He had the chops.
That was cool. He wrote a segue, right? Was that Nova? Or was it the same guy? Because remember Nova from ECW came over, and I think he was he Rico? I can't remember. I honestly can't remember.
I have to look that up.
What's up, Coffee?
Coffee, what's going on, man? And the Wise Soul, because let's see, he's saying that. Well, that's not what he said, but he said his favorite tag teams were the New Age Outlaws, Rock and Sock, the Rockers, and the Steiner Brothers. That's a list right there. So real quick, Wise Soul, if those 4 tag teams were in like a 4-way match, who's coming out on top? And okay, I went back to look at Coffee and he's gone. Like,
I feel
5 seconds fame.
I feel like Harlem Heat don't get as much respect as I feel as a tag team most times either.
Yeah,
I would have to agree with that.
Because they did all right for themselves, like more than all right for themselves as a team through their WCW run.
Right.
But then it just kind of, I don't remember what happened. I remember there being, sometimes it's like one of those things where people have more and more singles matches. And Stevie Ray had something with the NWO. And then I remember Booker T doing his best of 7 with Benoit.
Right.
And I don't remember them ever officially breaking up or anything.
Yeah.
Wrong, but I feel like they just kind of went in different directions and never quite started being on TV together again.
Like we're just not going to mention anything after the fact.
And like, I wonder if like they even realized like that had happened, because like if you start like if you got 2 guys and they're doing the teams, and then like here and there they just gradually start doing their own singles thing, like I could see how somebody be like, oh yeah, I totally forgot, we were using them as a tag team and now we got them doing individuals.
Right. I mean, that's a hard stretch to go off.
Yeah.
Hornswoggle was with, what was his name?
Finley?
Kit Finley.
Yeah.
That's what I remember. There's a question in the chat. Coffee, what's going on, man? Hello, Coffee?
Yeah, I'm here. Hold on.
Okay.
My headphones connected.
Okay, for a second, like I said something, you were just like staring at me, like I asked the wrong question. All right, so we'll come back around to you for your favorite team, but for me, man, like Rob Van Dam and Sabu was my team, like period.
Right.
They were amazing.
Yeah.
Like, because at the time they could both function as individuals with no problem,
Mm-hmm.
and they could work as a tag team. It wasn't one of those things where it's like, oh, why aren't they having tag team matches? It's just like when you look at them, they both were that good. They could do both things at the same time.
Right.
So I was very cool with them, and also the Impact players, because they were one of the first big heel teams that I saw that I really got into, I guess, in ECW, and they were having pretty crazy matches. But then past that, as far as some of the ones that I didn't really get so into, I think Derek, you know what I'm about to say here, with the Rock and Sock.
Yep, I knew it. I knew it.
It was not.
Did you at least like half the team?
and also and it could just be that I missed some things, but the Four Horsemen, maybe I was just late to the party, but I just never got into it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a fan of the Four Horsemen.
Guy, I was never a big. Well,
Which iteration?
I did like Arn Anderson. I always thought he was kind of cool for some reason. But like, and then they threw Mongo McMichael in there at some point. I was like, this is garbage, and that tarnished my whole view of the Four Horsemen.
My band was my favorite.
I know what tag team I didn't get at first, but then I eventually started liking was Beer Money.
I forgot about Beer Money.
Somebody.
Hold on, who was Beer Money?
It was an Impact or
that was James Storm and Bobby Roode.
Yeah, Bobby Roode.
Okay, I almost misread your thing here. The why. So when you said low key, I was thinking like low key, like the wrestler. I was like, I don't remember what you're talking about. But yeah, British Bulldogs, the Heart Foundation, good choice.
Yeah,
definitely on the older side of things.
I gotta go Kane and Undertaker.
Yeah, see,
I picked that was my.
Because again, it's just one of those things where, especially if you look at them in their peak time frame, like so say you take them in like 2000 or something.
Oh yeah.
I
feel like that was their best years right there, the 2000 run.
Yeah.
Because Kane came along in what 97.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Then he was the best. Well, they were kind of feuding for like the rest of that next year, basically. And I don't remember when they actually started teaming up. Do you guys?
Yeah, it was around. It was around that Undertaker and Austin feud.
The one early 2000.
Nah, it was before that. It was like 90. I won't say 99.
Because I'm trying to think. I remember some feud with Austin and Undertaker, but like it was kind of like they were never really on the same side.
before they got hardcore into the corporate ministry.
Yeah, because didn't I remember there being a tag match or something with it was like a first blood match between Undertaker and Austin at like Valentine's Day Massacre or something.
Yeah.
But I don't remember what year that was.
Was it 98?
I think it was like 98, 99.
Somewhere around there.
It was 99.
I'm leaning more towards 98. Was it 99?
Yeah, I just had to look it up real quick. But yeah, so but okay, so past like the teams and all, because I know we seem to like a lot of the same ones. Are there any particular matches though that come to mind when you think of the tag team matches of history?
I mean, right off the back, the TLC, WrestleMania, Yeah, I mean, both of them were great.
I feel like TLC 2 is actually, for me personally, TLC 2 was the better match overall.
I feel like it was too. There's a lot of parts leading up to that, and then you add in the factors of Lita, Spike, Rhino.
Right.
It's just, again, I think it was a better match.
How the whole thing started is like amazing.
Right.
How the Hardy Boys will come with the ladders, and the Dudley Boys always had the tables, and then you bring in the chairs.
Right.
With the chairs.
The concerto.
And like,
now I will say the most underappreciated one is probably TLC 3 with when it was a 4-way. I feel like that one don't get as much recognition, and that was on free TV at the time.
Yeah, UPN, SmackDown.
It was like with Benoit and Jericho, and I just watched that match like last month sometime. What is that?
No man, I'm watching the football game in Buffalo.
Oh. But yeah, I just heard about that match not too long ago for whatever reason.
Like that match was awesome. I was like, I was doing backflips in my living room.
And that's the thing, man, because there are some matches where like you can watch over and over. It's like you remember some of the main spots, you remember who's gonna win or whatever. But there's just something about it, like you watch it anyway. It's like a movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just doesn't take as long.
And I think the thing that stood out for me was we just had a TLC match that past WrestleMania.
Yep.
And then like it only was a month and a half, and we got another one.
Yeah.
And Jericho and Benoit had a ladder match that January with each other for that Intercontinental belt.
Oh yeah.
So it was kind of like, so you got all four of these. You got all four teams now. You got Jericho and Benoit just teaming up.
Yeah.
Ladder match, and I think that was just like the perfect concoction for a match right there.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Derek. No, you go ahead. You was talking first.
I was going to say, like, you were talking about how this was, all built up from, TLC. They all had their own little parts with chairs, ladders, and everything. And I want to say, like, the groundwork probably got laid back in, what was it? No Mercy 2000?
Yeah, No Mercy. Yeah, for that original ladder match.
Yep, and it was Edge and Christian versus the Hardys.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that was an amazing tag team match, and I feel like that's where things started going for that. Now, the story may not have been there, but the way they used that match and to go forwards with it to make them the ladder guys.
Right.
Like, I always thought as a kid it was funny. They'll get to the top of the ladder, they'll get ready to grab a belt, and then they get knocked off. I always thought that was funny.
Like they can't climb it very quickly when nobody's around.
Yeah.
Right.
You'll have somebody jump from the turnbuckle to the ladder and already be like maybe 3 rungs from the top.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff Hardy used to piss. I used to be screaming to the top of my lungs because I'd be pissed off with Jeff Hardy. I'm like, you're supposed to just rip the belt off. Why are you grabbing the wire and then Bubba Rhea take the ladder from under your legs or something?
Yeah, which leads into Edge spearing him twice.
Right.
What was always funny about Jeff was he'll do a swanton bomb off the top of the ladder instead of trying to grab the belt.
Yeah,
right.
Or
escape a cage.
Yeah.
Right.
But off of that same topic, though, like as far as because you do have to have the right people in the ring at the same time sometimes.
Right.
Make them both teams really get their best performance. So kind of like the wise soul was asking here. When it comes to rivalries that bring out the best in each other, one, because it's a lot to think of, right? But one that I'll throw out that's somewhat recent, at least within the last 2 to 3 years, primarily on NXT, the Undisputed Era and the War Machine, or like the Viking Raiders now, like those guys. They had some amazing matches.
See, I don't know none of the new people.
Okay.
I stopped watching like 2011. I only started watching wrestling because my dad was into it, and it was like a bonding moment when I was a kid.
Gotcha.
I
So
got
it's
you.
like,
Yeah.
When you get some of the people that are just like both at the top of their game, you know what I mean, and both are really good tag teams. It's like if you were to look back at like older wrestling or whatever, when you see somebody who's like Bret Hart and D'Anville, if they were to go against somebody from their time frame, like say they went against like I don't know, like the Road Warriors or something,
Yeah.
you're gonna see both sides put out something amazing. It's gonna be a little bit different, but sometimes that clash of styles is what creates a good match. You know, like
I know I wasn't a fan. I wasn't really a fan of the Outsiders. I was never a fan of Kevin Nash and Scott Hall like as a tag team.
that was a hype thing.
Yeah.
Like because they were cool. Don't get me wrong. Like they had that going for them. But if you were to look at them, if you were to look at WCW for a good tag team match in that time frame,
You wouldn't find it.
that's not them.
Yeah.
Not them. I mean, you got like, I know they would throw together luchadors and stuff all the time. So you'd see like Juventud and Psychosis, and that could be all right.
Yeah.
But I can't really remember too many tag teams from them that really stood out. Like as far as being like in WCW, like you know, from like say '97 to 2000 or whatever, 2001. Can't really think of anybody that really stands out over there.
Yeah, I can't think of anything.
Yeah,
it comes down to like the red and black NWO, black and white NWO, the Latino World Order. Let's see, Raven's Flock. I think
Raven's
what's the thing?
Raven's Flock was one of my favorite things. I was going to bring them up earlier for some.
Yeah. Who's it? Helm, Billy Kidman.
Yeah, they had Reese, they had Van Hammer, you know.
Yeah.
They had Sick Boy.
Oh yeah, Sick Boy.
Yeah, I remember the name.
Wait, wasn't Sick Boy Billy Kidman?
No, like I think they. No, he was somebody else. Was it Scotty Riggs, maybe?
No, who was the team with Gregory Helms and when they were the boy band?
Three crew, 3 step.
3 count?
3 count, yeah.
3 count, yeah.
Yeah.
But
also, one other tag team that stands out: the Hurricane and Rikishi. That one.
ooh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think WCW as a whole never like really had any standout homegrown tag teams other than Harlem Heat and I think that's Billy Kidman, Mysterio, and 3 count. But because most of the wrestlers that was in tag teams came from WWE to WCW, like what the Road Warriors. That's probably one of the few that WCW had.
I'm trying to think here. Let me just pull up some history real quick on everybody's favorite source of information, Wikipedia, and just seeing a lot of these names in here, like the Boogie Nights, the Perfect Event,
Chronic,
the Insiders, Misfits in Action. I'm not recognizing the Filthy Animals, the Dark Carnival, Chronic. I
vaguely remember Chronic.
I did like Wrath and Mortis.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chronic.
What's his name with them?
Yeah, Chronic was like, I don't know. Once they got to WWE, they was pretty much dead on arrival.
Apparently, Bret Hart and Goldberg was a tag team champion or something.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they were.
West Texas Rednecks. I remember that.
I remember.
Yeah, I don't remember a lot of these teams, though. It looks like a lot of their teams were just random people. It's like Sting and right? And the Steiner Brothers, as people brought up already.
I forgot about them too. But yeah, like I can't think of a lot of solid teams from WCW.
No, they were like home of the makeshift tag team, apparently.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
they were. I'm like, it was basically single stars paired up together, and they just made a team.
Yeah,
Like if you want to.
Like, well, we got Alex Wright and we got Disco Inferno, and they both dance. So bam, bang.
Hey, what are you doing?
All right. It's like, okay, then. It's like, you know what?
I mean, that's kind of like what Cesaro and Nakamura. I'm like, y'all have nothing in common, and y'all are a team now. Like,
what they have in common is that they're amazing wrestlers with no direction.
Nothing to do.
Like, it would have worked. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go. You talking first.
I was just gonna say, like, those two would have fit in really well back in the day when you had like Rusev and Sheamus and Cesaro, like when they were doing that like international stable that they're doing, like somebody from each
League of Nations.
Yeah.
That's one that I forget about. Wade Barrett. Coffee, you were about to say something though.
That's like when Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit was tag team. I didn't think they was a good matchup.
They were also a good matchup going against each other. They had crazy matches, but yeah,
tag team now.
Oh, Jericho and Benoit.
Yeah.
Oh no. They were
Kurt Angle.
Oh. No, I felt like they were a good team.
What was the Olympic team? Not Kurt Angle, but like the two other guys. Benjamin and Haas. They were good too.
Yeah. Now when they paired Charlie Haas with Rico, that was an odd team. That was something in itself right there. But
Demetrius said Cesaro can make any tag team work. Cesaro and Tyson Kidd was one of my favorite things, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was a great tag team.
Right.
Yeah.
And Samoa Joe ruined it. But I mean, it'd be nice if he could make his little comeback in some kind of way. But I mean, I just don't see it happening. And then, what was it, as far as like weird matchups again? Maybe it was me, but I never got into like the Daniel Bryan and Kane one that you brought up a moment ago.
Right.
Nah.
It was like it's like something happened and they're like, hey, that was funny. Let's just ride this out for the next couple months.
Right.
Yeah.
It was too gimmicky.
Right. But speaking of too gimmicky, the Mean Street Posse. What were your thoughts on that?
Awful. Like to me, it's just like it's like Shane and his buddies from high school that never really amounted to anything. Like that's what that felt like.
Like the douchey prep boys.
Yeah.
Right.
It's those guys in high school that I just wanted to punch, like going down the hall.
That's the Spirit Squad.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, Dolph Ziggler, he made it out all right, but
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, because I don't think anybody else from that survived other than Dolph, did they?
Kenny Dykstra had I think him and Mickey James' relationship killed his run.
I always thought Dolph Ziggler was trash.
So he gets treated like trash, but like when you give him the time, he can. I mean, I don't know in what way you think he's trash, but in the ring, he can make it happen. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah, Dolph Ziggler, he's one of those few superstars that you could have job for like a year, and then like the next week he won a title. Yeah,
it's like he's never completely out of the picture, but he's just not in it. And then when people do put him in there, it's like, okay, I can see why Dolph Ziggler is fighting Drew McIntyre.
Right, like you just
1/3 of three-man band.
On the last 9 matches, now all of a sudden you're fighting with Drew over the title.
But going back on the whole odd like matchups for random people, one of my favorite things like I've ever seen was like just putting two random people together that have really nothing in common and they made it work. Goldust and Booker T.
Yeah.
Like I went back and watched a lot of their clips probably about a month and a half ago. And that was like one of the wildest rides. Like all their little skits and everything that they had outside of the ring. Yeah. Vince was just kind of like, evidently he was just like, yeah, y'all can go do whatever you want. And like Vince was never really invested in it. So that really allowed them to just basically do whatever they wanted. And that was just really fun, I thought.
But Goldust, kind of like Cesaro in that sense, is like I mean, he had a solid team with Cody for obvious reasons, and R-Truth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there was somebody else. Didn't he have something going on in the earlier mid-90s or whatever? I can't remember who with, but Goldberg.
Oh, R-Truth did with Road Dogg.
No, I'm saying on Goldust.
Oh yeah, Goldust.
I think a lot of it is just Goldust creativity, and he's been around long enough, people kind of just let him do what he's gonna do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we all know the running gag. Vince doesn't care about tag teams.
Yeah.
Yeah, did the revival tell you that?
Huh? I think it was I think it was that first TLC match. I'll just go do what y'all want to do. I don't think Vince had faith in that match either.
Yeah, and it ends up being one of the
best match of the night.
Yeah,
I want to say one of the best matches in wrestling history.
Right.
And I forget who it was that said it, but I totally agree. That was probably the best match on the best pay-per-view in the best era of wrestling.
I'll agree with that. I mean, for me personally, I mean, who's to dispute that's a top 5 match?
Yeah.
Of all time.
Wait, which one was that? I was looking at something in the chat.
TLC.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Those carry a lot of weight.
Who can really dispute that that's a top 5 match?
And I can never remember which one it was. I think it was because it wasn't Evolution, but what was that group Cody was in?
Oh, Legacy.
Versus DX, the Hell in a Cell match. That was really good.
Yeah, that was a good match too.
I mean, just the way it was constructed and all that, and laid out. Yeah, that was a good one. But let's see. TBO in the chat, he's saying that the bar was overrated to him. And what's crazy to me is the bar lasted a lot longer than I expected it to.
I think because who left the company? It was Wade Barrett that left the company at the time. So I think they kind of had no choice but to keep Cesaro and Sheamus together.
Something like that.
Because it's hard to remember. Because I know that League of Nations thing, that's like they just needed something to do for WrestleMania or whatever pay-per-view was coming up, because that was not good.
Yeah.
But otherwise there was some decent stuff out there, you know what I mean? As far as matches go. But I will say, after one of the things that I liked about the breakup of Raw and SmackDown sides of things was that each section got to kind of focus on people that would normally be lost in the shuffle.
Right.
Yeah.
So one of the teams that I had for a long time not cared about was the Usos. But once I saw them having these matches with New Day and whoever else it was,
right,
they are really good.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing. Well, I know one of them is injured, but
I mean, between them and the Young Bucks, the super kick has become just a regular move. So
that's the thing I'm not a huge fan of. But that's another story. I'd say.
Yeah.
Because they have a lot of people. A lot of people have taken a lot of moves. The only person that it still seems to do much for is I think Tyler Breeze uses it as the supermodel kick, as a devastating maneuver, but it's not a finishing maneuver, which is the problem.
Johnny Nitro was using it for a little while as a finisher.
Let's see, and then question from TBO again: does it seem they are using the retribution too much? I feel like I didn't watch Raw this past week. I was there for a bit in the Thunderdome, and something went wrong. I got kicked out, and I was like, I'm not watching this tonight.
You must have showed a picture of Benoit.
But I will say, it's just from what I've seen, the initial reaction to the retribution thing was interest, and now it seems like people are not interested anymore. I don't know what happened. It could be overuse, but whatever it is, they don't seem to be using them correctly. I'll say that.
I think they hyped. I think they hyped it too soon, and then they gave this lackluster reveal of who's in the group and what are the motives and everything. It's just one of those situations where creative just dropped the ball on that one.
Yeah, and I've read a couple tweets from T-Bar and it does not make me want to see the Retribution at all.
Yeah.
They are terribly written. It's like, are you trying to like be cool and edgy, but this like writing weird sentence fragments? And I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. I kind of feel like he was taking a shot at probably the creative team as well by putting out one of those tweets of like, yeah, we're coming in, screwing everything up for y'all, but then you're all going to give us give us contracts because of, you know, it's cheaper than paying security and all this other stuff. I'm like, what are you even saying, dude? Like,
Yeah.
Like, are you taking a jab at them right now?
I mean,
bad writing, or are you trying to sell this?
I think the reveal was after they did the reveal. Somebody said, I think Animal before he died, he did an interview and he said Roman Reigns should have been like the leader of the Retribution or something like that. Should have been his that should have been a stable that he controlled or something like that. Like, I mean, Punk style type stuff.
That could have worked. I mean, they would have had to find I don't think Heyman, they would have had to work kind of hard to do that because Roman Reigns can't really be his own mouthpiece, it seems.
Right.
And Heyman's involvement with that would not make sense. So while possible, and if done right, could be a good thing, I just don't know how they could have done it. Right.
I mean, Heyman was fired. Heyman was fired, so they could have brought him back and said, you know, you fired me, and look what I found, and whatever the case may be. I mean, it's an easy story to write. It's just about who's writing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and also, I had that up there, Slapjack. Like, to this day, when I hear the word Slapjack, I think Stevie Ray. That will never change.
Like, wasn't he like? That one of his big things. I know he used it on Vince Russo in some match. I can't remember if that was a reoccurring thing or not.
I don't know how long it lasted because honestly, with WCW in that time frame, things would come and go like nothing. Like one day, No Limit is there, and it's like the biggest thing in the world. Next thing you know, it's like it's Vampiro and ICP. It's like you'd have no idea why. You just know that something has changed, and
right?
Get out of it. But one thing though, while we're talking about like things how they could have been, so one of the questions like I brought up earlier was kind of like fantasy booking in a sense. So whether mixing up tag teams and from one promotion or another, or taking people from different eras, whatever the case is, one of them that I want to put out there and see what you guys think is. Again, it would have had to have been a complete shift in eras, but seeing Bray Wyatt and Mankind like together, and then maybe move into being like the Fiend and Cactus Jack, like really step it up, that would have been a pretty cool team to me.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. I was trying to think of stuff like that, but now I don't think there's anything out there that can actually top that for fantasy.
Yeah, I think that's
well. But the thing is, well, then we'll just talk about that. But like, because when you see Bray Wyatt, a lot of people would often mentally see the old Mankind just for the way he would talk. Like he'd say some things, and it was unconventional what he said, but it would grab your attention.
Right.
He'd have his fireflies, and he'd have his rundown shack that he'd hang out in. So it's kind of like a perfect match. I mean, you maybe throw Raven in there or something.
So would they be billed from Parts Unknown or the Boiler Room?
The Boiler Room in Parts Unknown. Because like that's a good question. Who was it? I was watching that match for the first time ever, like 2 months ago. And
the Boiler Room match?
Yeah. And like with Mankind, he like threw like a garbage can out of the way. And then like tripped over it. Like, what are you doing, man? Just clumsy.
Yeah, it's been a minute since I've seen that one.
But yeah, okay. And see, TBO, he seems to be agreeing with me. But yeah, that would have been. I don't know who they'd be going up against because it'd have to be somebody that's, a pretty solid, team.
Right.
Yeah.
And also hold their own when it comes to like the talking part.
Right.
Because go
ahead.
No, I was just saying, because like, who do you think, as far as can speak up for themselves and like not be boring? What are some of the teams you think would be be able to pull that off.
I mean, I would always love to see Taker and Sting do some type of that would have been a nice little union. Now, as far as how you pair them, because they still are two totally different type of characters. Like, even though people like to sing them together, that would have been a good pairing for my personal opinion.
Did they not? Oh yeah, because I just saw this comment of like Roman versus Goldberg. It's like, didn't they do that? No, I forgot that didn't happen. But
I think a good way to go about it, like for this whole fantasy thing, would be if you had both of those characters in the Ministry of Darkness,
right?
And then for some reason there was some bad blood between them and the Acolytes. I think that would be a good match.
Oh, the Acolytes, they were like whatever match that was, but that they had against Public Enemy, where Public Enemy had said something or done something out of their lane.
Yeah,
we just beat them bad on Sunday Night Heat.
Bradshaw had heat with everybody. Seems like midnight.
Well, this time it wasn't their fault though. Like Public Enemy was, I don't know, they were trying to call some shots or whatever right after they got into the company and hadn't really established themselves as anybody that mattered.
Right.
WWF at the time. So that was on. But yeah, past that, like looking at the chat here, TBO was talking about wanting to see Goldberg versus Roman Reigns. That might actually still happen because from what I heard from Chick Foley, right, Goldberg still has like 4 dates left on his contract.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why every so often he like talks some trash to somebody, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Just so he can kind of stay relevant. McFly, what is going on, man?
What's going on, McFly?
But yeah, it's but again, going back to it as far as, you know, tag teams and all that of the Undertaker and Sting thing, that Undertaker and Sting against Bray Wyatt and Mankind, that would have been something to see, especially if you got them from the right time,
the right era.
Yeah, because I mean, I guess 3 out of those 4 guys, you need to take them from like 98, 99, right. And then Bray Wyatt from any time because he's good. But that would have been something. And I'm still, from what and I think you guys all saw that Undertaker special.
Yeah.
I think on there they might have talked about it, or it was somewhere else about him and Sting and how that match was supposed to happen at some point and just didn't. And I think it had something to do with Seth Rollins nearly killing the man.
Yeah.
So
that damn turnbuckle powerbomb.
Like Goldberg does that to himself. Goldberg hurts himself. Like those turnbuckles and those locker room, it's like no, that's him just getting a little ahead of himself.
Yeah. Well, didn't D'Lo Brown like turnbuckle powerbomb somebody?
No, he was attempting one on Draws.
Yeah.
And he tripped or something, and basically something didn't go right.
Yeah.
So he fell, and he just fell in a bad way, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But and who was it? Owen Hart was a tag team with D'Lo. Well, he was in the Nation of Domination.
Yeah.
So that was another one of those weird mixes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mysterio killed somebody with a 619. So
yeah, Mysterio he didn't he like break the Undertaker's face at some point too?
Was it? Yeah, he I think it was that leg drop. No, was it Matt Hart? Somebody broke the Undertaker's his eye. I think it was the bone above his eye.
Yeah, I thought that was Mysterio, but that thing where he like jumps and like, you know, sits on your chest like to slam you to the ground or whatever.
Yeah.
But but D'Lo Brown though, he was pretty good. Him and it was Mustafa, I think, like the Godfather. I think he was the tag team. Because when you have those 4-way groups or factions or whatever, it's often like that you'll see any combination, but there's like one combination you see all the time.
Mhm.
And that seemingly was them.
Right.
And then now it's like, again, you got like the New Day, which is kind of temporarily on hold because Big E is the only one around.
Right.
Let's see. Oh, McFly saw that Mysterio match live. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, but Mysterio hurt a lot of wrestlers with his. Either he broke somebody's face, he busted Matt Hardy open with a hurricanrana.
How do you bust somebody open with a hurricanrana?
Yeah, like,
Yeah, that's my.
He came off the ropes, and you know how he does his flip backwards, and that's supposed to get you into the pin.
Yeah.
Matt Hardy, he landed Matt Hardy on his head and busted him open. I was like, how the hell do you do that? But the crazy part is they added that in the game, the following game that year, where the hurricanrana busted you open.
Oh wow.
That's, man, like I guess Matt Hardy's been getting busted open for a while then, because
Sammy Guerrero, that chair that Sammy Guerrero threw at him.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
That's
gonna be a big scar.
Oh yeah. But
I mean, at this point, like you said, his whole face is scar tissue anyway. So
right.
Yeah, right. I mean,
unless you're
Cody's gonna be right there with him in a couple of years because he's getting busted open left and right.
Shit, Devon got bad scar tissue on his forehead too.
Yeah.
But I mean, but again, like for the Dudley Boys, they had a long history of like those hardcore matches,
right?
Like trying to
Public Enemy
in some way. But like when you look at somebody like Cody, he's just having normal matches, and he'll have a match against Joey Janela on Dynamite, and for no reason just run his face right into the steel steps.
Yeah.
Or remember that time when at the pay-per-view where he did a dive over the top ropes to the floor, and like the dude was way gone by the time he like was yeah, that was.
But you were talking about the fantasy stuff, and one of the things that I thought of was because you'd mentioned Devon, but having Dudley Boys versus Ray Phoenix and Pentagon.
Oh yeah.
Like I think that would be a really good match.
That is, yeah. I could see that. Because the Dudley Boys, they have a way of being able to work with everybody, and especially like another team that's as over as them.
Yeah.
I feel bad for Dominic. Oh man, like I don't know if TBO is talking about like those Kane shots or what, but that was something brutal. But yeah, I could see the Dudley Boys going against them. Also, it's a Ring of Honor team, so I don't know how much you guys know about them, but the Briscoe brothers and
okay,
a good one.
Yeah.
I think Bubba did some one-on-one stuff with one of the Briscoes, but it's kind of hard to follow because I don't really keep up so much with Ring of Honor. But overall, though, I would really like to have seen the Dudley Boys more, like when I started going to events, because it's a tag team that I grew up with, essentially. You know, I mean, even though by the time I started watching them was what, 98? Yeah, 98. So I mean, I wasn't like single digit ages, obviously,
right?
But it's like in my wrestling time frame, like that's what I meant. I grew up with them from that perspective.
Yeah, because it's something to sit there and be like, you know, I can go watch the, you know, you go to AEW or WWE now and see, you know, like Young Bucks or Retribution or, you know, whoever it might be. That's cool and all, but it's nothing like seeing those ones that you grew up with, like the Hardys, ENC, APA, Dudleys.
Right. And it's one of those things, like they made this legacy way back then. And now it's like, okay, so say that was like roughly 20 years ago, right? We'll just call it an even 20. So who from right now is having the matches that in 2040, people are going to be like, oh man, like I remember these guys when I was growing up. And it's like, sure, you've got like a handful of people that are standing out right now, and you kind of wonder, like, okay, who's going to really stick around? You know what I mean?
Right.
Because man, I'm looking at the Street Profits. I feel like they're going to be in a pretty good place like later, you know. But then you have people like Heavy Machinery, where it's a solid team, but are they going to really be around for a while, or is it just kind of something that's happening right now?
Yeah, because like some of these tag teams, like you do want to see them stick around, but then things just happen and then they're not around. Because what was that? There's another tag team. I actually kind of enjoyed them as a heel team. La Resistance.
Yeah,
They almost killed Spike Dudley once.
Yeah.
Who hasn't almost killed Spike?
Right.
Stone Cold almost killed Spike when he threw him out the ring to the team.
Spike's almost killed Spike.
Yeah.
He literally asked the Undertaker, "Oh yeah, just give me a choke slam to the outside of the ring."
Man, him and Mike Austin's matches, ECW, check those out. But Derek, finish your thought though.
Forgot what it was.
You're talking about La Resistance.
Oh yeah. So it's like, La Resistance, like I could see those guys, like I felt they were a decent tag team at that time. Like they weren't bad, they weren't great. They're still, I feel like finding their footing in the company and whatnot. But I could have seen them being one of the better tag teams to come out of that era.
Yeah.
But then they just weren't around.
Yeah,
right.
That's the thing. Like there are people that, like with the Revival, I feel like even though they're one of the best tag teams out there, if they stayed where they were, it wouldn't have mattered, right?
Yeah.
They injury prone though.
I thought they were good. I know what's those big dudes? The Authors of Pain. I know they were definitely injury prone apparently. But I mean, they did pretty well overall, though. They had a solid run,
right?
But it's just like the names that are, because right now, like overall, wrestling just isn't holding people's attention in the same way it did 20 years ago. Anyway,
I mean, people forget about what 3 minute warning.
3 minute warning. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It was like Rosie and something.
Rosie and Umaga. Well, Jamal.
Yeah. And then you had Rosie and the Hurricane.
Rosie and the Hurricane after the fact.
That's what it was. Yeah, that's what I meant when I said him and I said Rikishi earlier.
Yeah.
You guys knew what I meant. But yeah, and I was asking in the chat because I was thinking like of the intergender matches, and I thought that Jericho and China had been a team like somewhat consistently, but maybe I'm thinking someone else. I don't know. Because I remember, like, who was it? Test had Trish Stratus or something for a while. But
yeah, Test had Trish Stratus, and Matt, Jeff tag with Lita.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, apparently everybody was tagging with Lita or something, and then Edge got mad about it. But
I mean, that's exactly what you were going to say.
That could have went way left, didn't I?
Yeah,
but you know what? I'm happy Matt and Edge are back cool again. I'm happy they're cool again.
Yeah. It's one of those water under the bridge things. And like everything worked out for Matt and Edge in the end anyway. So.
Right. Both of them got their own families, and Lita's kind of still in the obscurity of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's back to working with S.A. Rios, right? No.
Right.
Like every time somebody gets with Lita, they wind up married to somebody else.
It's like, I mean, Lita was something though. She had a lot of attention, for a while. She was like one of the people that everybody talked about. Right. But I will say, when they brought back random people, like recently, in recent years, like Trish Stratus came back at some point, and Mickie James might still be on TV right now. Lita was back here and there. She was like the one I looked forward to the least, and I don't know why, because I didn't have any problems with her then, but like recently when it was like Mickie James that had my attention, I was like, oh, they got Mickie James back. Like what?
Yeah.
For some reason, like she was the one that like had me interested.
Yeah, I remember with her coming out. I think she came out during some NXT stuff when I seen her.
She did.
Yeah, and I was like, oh wow, I was genuine. I actually had a slight pop for that, and then you had like Trish come out. I was just like, really, like you're back, like
Yeah. Like, when she came out, she's doing her little point thing, and I'm just like, eh. Like had they brought back Molly Holly though, like I would have been again like, okay, cool.
Yeah,
I'm all for this. And they weren't in that era. They didn't really have a lot of women tag teams though, did they? Not like now.
No,
like it was always an odd pairing. Like you would end up seeing like Lita and Trish versus like
Jackie and Ivory or something like that.
Yeah, and like it was never a solid tag team.
Talking
about people that I would actually be excited to come back. From like this is off the tag team subject, but from like the female wrestlers of back in the day come back. Like Jacqueline, Ivory, Victoria.
Yeah.
People like that were actually pretty good in the ring. I think.
Right.
Yeah, I mean now because they have people that are good in the ring, but it's just like they try to force other layers on you.
Right.
So you watch these things, like say like Bayley and Sasha, right? No one's gonna argue that they're both pretty solid on their own, but there's something about how they were kind of like forcing them on you.
Yeah.
That made it like fall a little flat because it could have just been like personality things or whatever.
Well, I mean, they used to just use the women for eye candy and being managers. I mean, back in the 90s, you rarely had like women that actually had technical skills like Jackie, Ivory, and
oh yeah, you'd have like
those are the ones that I knew had some type of skills.
Yeah,
so
an actual reason to be in a wrestling ring,
right?
Because if you watch like the mid 90s, late 90s pay-per-views, it's like a 30-woman battle royal in pudding or something like that.
Right.
Yeah. Like, with like a lingerie on a pole, and you have to get up there and get it to win.
Right.
It's like, what is happening? Because I would see those things like after they stopped doing that for so long, and you go back and you watch like, was it like Royal Rumble in 98 or 2000 I was watching, and like they just throw one of those in there in the middle, and you're like, wait,
right,
what is this pool all about?
Yeah.
And you see like Jerry the King Lawler. It's like, oh, I know it's about to happen here.
Yeah.
I think out of the bunch, Trish probably was the most improved over time.
Yeah.
She was probably that's my thing with Trish. She was probably the most improved.
Yeah, because I remember she was basically brought in as eye candy, and then she was like, I think she came in originally with the whole WrestleMania 17 angle, if I'm not mistaken, and then got moved into TNA, or was it TNA and then moved into the WrestleMania angle where she would push around Linda. But yeah, like she came in and just kind of like, oh yeah, eye candy. But by the end of it, she was actually pretty good in the ring.
Yeah, and there's and sometimes like you've got the Sheeta shirt on, and she teamed with Thunder Rosa recently, and it was like, okay, they're both really good, but something about the team was like a little bit off.
Yeah, because that match was it this week or last? It was this week, I believe. This past week, they had that match, and evidently Thunder Rosa, Ivelisse in that match decided she wasn't going to start selling for Thunder Rosa, and like she started laying in actual shots on her.
Hey man, sometimes that's what you got to do to get people back in line,
Right?
Like if you're in, I get that this is, as Ronda Rousey would put it, like play fighting with your friends or whatever.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like if somebody stops doing their part, and you happen, in Thunder Rosa's case, if you're an MMA, if you have that MMA submission background, like that's not the best choice to do that with.
Yeah.
You can maybe do that to like the Miz, right? Because like that he's not really a threat necessarily, unless you unless you're worried about somebody like getting on the microphone and making you feel bad, because he can hold his own on the microphone.
Yeah.
But in the ring, you know, if you're like, look, I'm Cesaro, you're the Miz, I don't feel like selling for you. There's not a lot he's going to be able to do about it.
Yeah.
So I will say, on the topic of the Miz, him and John Morrison has been pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
I wish they never broke them up originally. I wish they never did break them up originally.
What broke them up? Was it one leaving or what? I don't really.
No, I think they were trying to turn Miz into a singles wrestler at the time.
Oh, well, I mean, he can do that, you know, because he's been more of a singles wrestler than a tag team, at least from what I remember, right? Because
I don't know. We had Damien Mizdow, and I thought that was like one of the best.
Oh man,
one of the best things that like they've ever done as well. I would put that up there with Booker T and Goldust.
Dude, like I think you had to have been gone already or something. But I remember like they came to Nottingham back in the England days.
Yeah.
And like, because I know like had you still been there, you totally would have gone with me.
Yeah.
And like that was like they were kind of setting up the New Day things. They had like Kofi and Big E in a match, but they also had Mizdow, and that was one of the best things I've ever seen live.
Oh man, yeah, I wish I would have seen that live.
Watching him sell like that, like, you know, as the Miz is in the ring taking all like the hits or whatever, and he's just playing along on the outside like perfectly.
Right.
Man, it was good. It was good. And I was fairly close too, so that was cool. Maybe like 10 feet from like the ring or something. I wasn't like the first row, but like the second row.
Yeah.
Normal house show things. Yeah. So that was cool. Also on the subject of other teams, like now they're starting to come to mind. What do you guys think of Breezango?
Entertaining. You got two guys that are like on the same caliber of athleticism and talent, I think. So I think they're pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
I didn't like Fandango as much before the fact. So putting him with Tyler Breeze, who I thought was more entertaining, I think it kind of boosted him up a little.
Yeah.
Those guys, I like, with their energy that they have, like playing off of each other, it works perfectly. You know what I mean? Because when they come out on NXT doing like the cosplay at first as like the Mountie or whatever, and then they get in the ring, and then they just, especially lately, they've been kind of giving them some solid wins over Imperium and somebody else, because they're the tag team champs right now. You know, so for them to actually be getting some attention is long overdue.
Yeah, yeah, because I think that for a while I kind of stopped watching like NXT and Raw and everything there for a little bit. And I didn't even know that they were a team until you had opened up. You'd had the figures. You pulled them out, the Breezango figures. And I was like, what? That's a thing. So I had to look into it.
Yeah, I need to put those guys, because like I just noticed the other day that all the wrestlers that I have on my TV stand, the things I use on the thumbnail, are all tag teams. So like, well, I guess I may as well put some other people out there, because I do have the Breezango. I've got the Rusev Day. That was a good one too.
Yeah.
Rusev and Aiden English. English was good with the. Did you guys see the vaudevillains at all? Like
Simon Gotch.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that, because that goes back to like the classic gimmick stuff that you don't really see a lot of these days. Well, I guess you're starting to see it a little bit more than what we used to, but just having that whole old-timey circus theater gimmick, I thought was entertaining.
Yeah, because like at the first second I saw it, I was like, what is this? Like when they first put the graphic up there, I was like, what's about to happen? But then like 5 seconds later, I was completely sold. And so then when I was at the WrestleMania in Dallas, because I was at the Raw after WrestleMania, and I'm sitting there just watching the show, and that's when they do like the surprise appearances or whatever.
Right, the call-ups.
And when I saw like that quite manly thing flash on the screen, I feel like I was the only one that got excited. Like everybody else was like, and I'm like, yeah, what? No, you guys seeing this? I'm like, no, okay, me, all right.
I see it. Doesn't mean I want to.
Didn't they come out? Didn't they? Weren't they feuding with New Day first?
Yeah, I remember they were, because like I remember that whole match where was it one of them? I think it was Gotch threw Enzo out of the ring because like they were trying to figure out who's gonna fight the New Day, and is that one where Enzo hit the side of the ropes and it's like it almost broke his own neck?
Yeah,
and that was like,
cause I think every new tag team revealed, the New Day either winds up on the ground or through a table or something like that.
But I mean, to be fair though, like New Day, they have been holding it down on the tag team side of things for
they definitely have
for a long time. Like they were able to get through that first 6 months to a year when it was kind of rocky, and people didn't want to hear from them, and like they come out like they had the choir background thing, but then they got a little shift somewhere and gained a little bit of momentum, and it just blew up after that.
I can't imagine like not having the New Day around now at this point, because they're probably the best tag team that WWE has right now.
Yeah, and had it not been for that, there's a strong case to say that Kofi wouldn't have made the singles run that he made.
Right. Yeah.
Because he would have just been on the side, maybe 24/7 champ with R-Truth or something.
He would have been.
No. R-Truth is the one and only 24/7 European 7-Eleven I-95 champion.
The fact that you said all that, like, yes. I'm not going to argue that.
I appreciate R-Truth so much. Like, I have been a fan of his for
a long time.
Like, I remember when he was K-Quick. I remember when he was in TNA. Like, when TNA was, like, the monthly preview or pay-per-view showing. Like, I've been a fan of his for a long time, and he may never be, like, heavyweight champion, but I think that kind of goes back to the whole, like, the too cool argument. He's good enough in his own way to, be excited for.
I mean, he brings so much in. For one, like, I don't know about you, but I do follow him on Twitter, and that is constant entertainment. And then just his little run-ins where, like, I don't remember what match was going to happen, but he ran out there with a ladder. And
it was in a Royal Rumble match, wasn't he?
I don't remember what it was, but like that and just like his interaction, or the one he had with when he came out there and like got in his face, but him and Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
He's like,
yeah, I'm pretty sure like Brock was like legit, like I think his character was legit broken when he came out.
From what Truth said in an interview later, Heyman said, "Hey, we're not going to plan anything. We're just going to wing this, and I want you to like do what you can to break Brock Lesnar." And so that's exactly what happened. He went out there and just being R-Truth. You can't be 5 feet away from this dude and not laugh. I mean, even Baszler, when they're in the back, like doing that, what's that show they do? Like kind of like talking smack, but it's not talking smack.
Yeah.
It's like when they're back there, and I don't remember what it was, but I saw a clip where Shayna Baszler was like going off about something, and he's like, "Well, maybe you should have got some of that fish from catering and put some like sauce on it." Like, she's just like, you see, just kind of put her head down so she doesn't give off the whole gimmick thing that she's just like broken that, and she's now one of the normal people.
Yeah, and talking about like the intergender matches and all that, like having Truth and Carmella out there actually doing some matches together would be great.
That was one of those things I forgot about too. Like that was a pairing that just came out of nowhere and perfect.
Yeah, because beforehand I really wasn't a fan of Carmella. I'm pretty sure she was with Enzo and Cass beforehand.
Yeah, and NXT, yes.
Yeah. I was just like, yeah, they can do without her. Like, but then they put her with True that like this is great.
The crazy thing was like when they were all as a trio in NXT, I was thinking, okay, like this is a pretty solid group right here. And then when they left and they all kind of started doing their own separate things, like I was thinking, I was originally thinking like that Carmella was going to be the one that just kind of fell by the wayside.
Mm-hmm.
But
Everybody
no, she ended up having a pretty decent run as the champ, you know. Meanwhile, like Enzo got fired and Big Cass, I think he also got fired.
Big Cass expressing his political views, which Vince is a big proponent of. No.
Yeah. So that happened, and now Carmella is the one. And like I think she got in one of the Bella's faces a while ago about John Cena and how she was only there because of him, which nobody argued.
Nobody's arguing.
It's like, yeah, well, I mean,
I think AJ Lee threw some shade talking about some she brought something up about being the longest reigning champion because one of the Bellas said something.
Yeah, but then they let
I vaguely remember that one.
But then like
I think that was recent.
She was the longest reigning, like I mean, if you look at actually defending the title and stuff, you know what I mean? Because Bella, whichever one, had the title for longer,
right?
But probably had like a week's worth of title defenses in there. You know what I mean? Which I guess still puts her above Sasha Banks, who has to this day probably still never successfully defended hers.
Correct.
But it's just the fact that it's like you put the belt on somebody and then you make this long run because you can do that. And then when you've hit like that number, you're like, okay, well, AJ Lee had 400 days. So now that she has 402, we're good.
I think they were just trying to erase the record since she had left. I think that's all that was.
Right. And that's the thing. You can erase the record, but you can't erase that it was like the best reign necessarily.
Right.
You know? Mm-hmm. I'm not going to say it was the best reign, but
you can't say it didn't happen.
Yeah, having longer days or having more days doesn't make you the better champion necessarily.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, who is it? Like, when you look at some people and how they have had multiple reigns that were short, it's like, so you lost the title a bunch of times, you won it a bunch of times, and you've held it for like, 3 weeks to a month each time. Like, I'm not impressed. File this under Shania Twain or something. But moving on from there, it's like you look at other people and they come in there. Like, who was another recent long-term champ? Adam Cole, right? He had it for a long time. The New Day held the tag team titles for a long time, and they were defending those practically weekly.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know who their women's champs are right now.
Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax right now.
Yeah, so they'll probably, I don't know if they've defended them or not, but now that the Iconics aren't a team anymore, I don't know who else is like a real tag team to go against.
Yeah, because like for me, like their best tag teams that they had were the Iconics, Becky and Sasha, the Kabuki Warriors.
Oh, that was a good one.
Yeah, that was good.
I didn't even like Kairi Sane until she got up with Asuka. That's the pirate thing. I just couldn't get behind it.
I love the pirate thing.
I know
her music was so amazing.
That was her thing. Like, I'm not going to take that away from her. I think she had that before this.
Yeah.
It's just like I would see it and I'm like, eh. Now, don't get me wrong. She was fine once, like, bell to bell or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But then when she like started wearing the face paint and being with Asuka,
yeah.
Okay. For some reason, I like this.
She definitely got one of the best elbow drops in the game. I'll give her that.
Oh yeah.
It looks like she hurts her.
Yeah, I was about to say it looks like her hip must be screaming every time she does that move.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, that's what I think of because I see some people that they have a really good elbow drop, and it's just like, man, that looks like that is going to come back to haunt you years later. Or
Yeah.
maybe
10%,
moments.
10% of
Moments.
10% lands on the other person. The other 90 is on you.
Yeah.
It's better than like it's when Mankind would do his elbow drops to like the concrete floor.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a step up from that. But man, yeah, I don't know how people are doing that. Because I think, and I know Macho Man did it for a long time, but I don't remember how long he was really like wrestling though. Because when did he? I don't remember when he passed away. But I would see him regularly wrestling or whatever when he wasn't making hit rap albums.
I forgot about those.
No, so somebody
Spider-Man.
I have never forgotten about that rap album, but it's just that like somebody brought it back to mind recently because I made that video about those Macho Man shoes. And they're like, "Did you ever hear that rap album?" It's like, of course I heard that rap album.
Doesn't mean I enjoyed it.
Oh no, but that "Be a Man" song, that Hulk Hogan diss track.
Be a man.
that thing, I might have to listen to that later.
That was awesome.
That was, yeah. I think R-Truth does something with music too.
Yeah, he does. He recently had a video out.
Oh, okay. Have to check that out then. See what's up, as they say.
What's up? Dude,
Little Jimmy.
Little Jimmy.
Is he on it? Is Little Jimmy on it? No.
He probably was dancing in the background.
Oh man, I love Truth. Like,
yeah,
probably like one of my favorite mid-card guys that I can think of.
Yeah, and I know it was brought up earlier. Like he had that team with Road Dogg that seemed to do pretty decent. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because again, Road Dogg was one of those guys where, like, he wasn't like some amazing in-ring. Okay, he might have had more talent than he showed, because sometimes people just show what they need to based on their character.
Mm-hmm.
But even that aside, it was like you watched his matches for those little spots he would do, you know?
Yeah.
Little dance and things and whatnot. So okay, that's
shake,
cool.
rattle, and roll.
Yeah. And you know, he would have his little intro, and that was apparently enough to earn him a spot forever.
Yeah.
So
yeah, he was good on the mic. So I mean, that
exactly
his character.
Because there have been other people that have come along and been amazing in the ring, and it amounted to nothing in some ways.
Right.
So he got in there and found what worked for him, and that was it. And then even other people that do have more talent that they could showcase, like they just don't, because it's like they're in there doing what they need to do. Like, who was it? Like the Big Show, like years ago when he was doing like drop kicks and stuff and jumping off the top rope. Like then it's like, okay, well, now we want you to just be the monster, you know?
Yeah.
So okay, same with Brock Lesnar. You know, he could probably still do like a lot of the stuff he was like the shooting stars.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
He needs to keep that move retired forever.
Yeah.
I'm not too confident in Brock with that one.
Nah, not who was it? It was Kurt Angle, right?
Kurt Angle,
yeah, the WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Have y'all recently seen Kurt?
No,
not recently.
Oh man.
I mean, I saw him at Target the other day.
Yeah, he looks like he lost massive muscle loss.
Really? I mean,
I mean, people saying that he's still fit, but I mean, like, you know, once you start looking like you got sandbags under your arm, like. So
Kurt Angle, right? Like, nobody's gonna take anything away from his legacy as when he was an active wrestler, like on a normal schedule.
Right.
But when they brought him back for Survivor Series, he had that tag match with the Shield to fill in for somebody.
Dean Ambrose, I think it was.
And that was like, it's one of those things where you hear about it and you're like looking forward to it in the sense that it's Kurt Angle getting back in the ring, but then it happens and like reality sets in and you're like, this is what I should have expected. And like, you're not happy about it, but it's like, you're looking at it and you know you're getting what you should have expected to get, but like you're still not happy that you're getting it.
Yeah.
Just like this is because like you look at him, and especially if you go back and look at any of his highlights, because I've recently watched his match with Shawn Michaels, whatever, and you see him now, and he's just like, or not now, but what was that
2018?
18?
Yeah.
You look at that match, and you're just like, man, this is not. He's not moving as fast as he would. Like, gotta be up on the turnbuckle. He runs and jumps, to like that halfway point, does a suplex off.
Mm-hmm.
He was like exploding with like quickness and power, all that stuff. Same with like Shamrock, I saw that Slammiversary, I think it was, where Shamrock was on there, and I'm like, man, this is, it's not the same.
All right.
But
yeah, I remember watching not too long ago Chris Benoit versus Kurt Angle. Was that at WrestleMania 17? Because I watched WrestleMania 17 wrestling recently.
I know they had a match at like Royal Rumble 02 or 03, I think. But and they probably had one out of WrestleMania as well. I just don't remember it.
Yeah, it was WrestleMania. They had a submission match the next WrestleMania. I mean, at Backlash a month later.
Yeah, because the whole argument was neither one of them have officially tapped out or something.
Right.
And it led into that. Yeah. But I remember watching that, and then I've seen like some Kurt Angle stuff from like recent. It's like, man, it's just, again, like you said, yeah, you should expect this. Does not make it enjoyable though.
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
I honestly feel like Kurt Angle's running TNA is like, I feel like that took years off of his career because he was doing a lot more crazier bumps than he was in WWE at the time. Because I mean, he was doing 450s off of the cage and all kind of other crazy stuff that he wasn't doing in WWE other than that moonsault off the cage.
Yeah. I was thinking like that's the only one I can think of that was like really high risk as a stunt.
But I mean,
and he was still relatively young when he did that in WWE. Like he was in his low 30s at that time.
Yeah.
But the other crazy thing is like when you look at, I mean, a lot of people have a lot of memories of Kurt Angle, and they're all like super compressed. You know what I mean? Like his run was short compared to other people anyway.
Right.
So it's not like
the Rock run was short.
Yeah, so it's not like Triple H where you think like, oh well, he was there in like 97 or something or 6 or whatever through the until the world blows up or something, and you just think like, but at the same time, I don't find myself reminiscing about any Triple H matches. There might be an Undertaker match where Triple H happened to be in it, and that one was good, but I don't really go back to Triple H stuff, right? But like there are so many things from Kurt Angle that you can go back and you look at, maybe it's the tag teams with Haas and Benjamin or whatever.
I feel like Triple H,
man, like there's so much worth rewatching from this one guy in 4 years.
I was saying, I feel like Triple H had bigger feuds with Randy Orton and Edge than he did with The Rock and Kurt Angle.
Right.
Yeah.
And Edge is one of those guys. Like, there are a lot of Edge things that I could go back and look at again or whatever, but because whether it's like hardcore things like him and like was it Cactus Jack or whatever, or just some of his bigger moments, and it's one of those things where like certain things you can still watch now, and he's gonna win the title, but when you do, you're still like excited for him again, like it was like the first time, because you're like, well, man, this was his first run, like. This is a cool moment,
Right. That and with Edge and Christian, I remember watching the night that team split up. I did not see it coming. Like it's during the whole invasion angle.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Yeah, dude, Mom's been in an accident." And this is when I still thought that they were actual brothers.
Right.
Yeah, they're like, "Yeah, Mom's had an accident." And they go back there, and then like. The Alliance just beat the crap out of Edge. I was like, wow. I'm watching one of my favorite tag teams like split up right in front of me. It's almost like Shawn Michaels and
Diesel.
The Genetti?
Yeah, Genetti.
Yeah, I was trying to get the. But you know, like you talk about like things like that happening. I remember watching in, I guess it would have been '97. I think would have been like the end of '97 when Sergeant Slaughter had enough of DX and their childish games, and he put Shawn Michaels against Triple H for like their European title, and I was like, what? And then they're bickering back and forth throughout the night. Like, man, they're gonna break up. This is one of the coolest teams in the world, though.
Yeah.
Like they did that like 2-second match where just one with like a small package or something.
Yeah.
Just to pass the title over. Man, that one got me. You know, it's one of those things where, you know, like sometimes when you're watching wrestling or whatever, and you're looking at just the storyline or whatever, you kind of put a little bit of common sense to the side, and you're just like, man, well, what's going to happen now?
Yeah. That's one thing I like about it. Like, I know it's all fake and all, but there's a part of me that tries to go along with it as if it were all real.
Yeah,
I think it makes it more enjoyable.
Right. It does, and that's kind of how you have to watch it. Because like when you're watching like Avengers Endgame or something, like you know that this guy isn't really dead. You know that this guy didn't really kill off half the world or whatever. But you just watch it to see how it unfolds, right? So when there's a storyline, you're like, wait, is Raven gonna take Dreamer's girlfriend? And what? You know, and you're just watching these things as they unfold, and like time goes on, and if they do it right, yeah, like sure the matches they end however people want them to end, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens in them to drive the storyline further is what does it. Now, if you go in there and you take somebody's eye out, that automatically sets you back years, right? Because it's like, okay, now I care even less about this.
Yeah.
But if it's a good back and forth, and it's like, okay, wait, I see what they're going with it. Where they're going, like he brought in the table, and now they're probably going to have another match because this one had kind of like a dirty victory to it.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing you know, it's Lucha Brothers and the Young Bucks having some ladder of death match or whatever they called it.
Yeah.
Which was still that was a crazy ladder match.
Yeah. I remember you and we had talked about it a couple of nights after that, I think.
Yeah.
And I just keep thinking about the Canadian Destroyer off the ladder through the table. I'm just like, wow, now that is a spot and a half.
That's a lot of trust.
Yeah.
And knowing yourself, I guess, too. But, man, because it's not like something you might really want to practice. Because I know, like, say with the Randy Orton and Seth Rollins WrestleMania 31 thing where, like, he went for the curb stomp. Orton pushes him up into the air and hit him with the RKO.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And one of them said that they tried it a couple times and it kind of worked. And they're like, well, we're just going to have to hope that this goes right when we do it live.
Yeah.
And like when they did it live, it was like the best version that they had pulled off.
Yeah.
So
I remember watching that one.
Right. And that's the thing that you can practice something like that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But what about that shooting star press into a RKO? I'm like, how many times can you practice? That was Evan Bourne.
No. I think DDP might have done that with Kidman and WCW.
Yeah, he did a shooting star into a diamond cutter.
But the one that Jeezy's talking about, though, that one, I remember that because that was just like, that was crazy.
Yeah.
I think DDP was paid some kind of way.
Billy Kidman had one of those shooting star press that you could kind of fall into if he wanted to. Evan Bourne had that, like, if you have an error or anything, like you're probably you're not gonna get up from that.
Well, Evan Bourne's shooting star press made my last video for all the wrong reasons. Man, yeah, I had to, because I was thinking about it as I was, recording the video. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna put in an Evan Bourne clip or a Matt Sydal clip, whatever.
Yeah.
Right here, because that makes sense.
I'm just so glad that they're kind of like they kind of turned it into like a little bit of an angle
Right.
with Shima, like or not Shima, Nakazawa.
Yeah.
They're oiling up the turnbuckle.
Man, and that's because I saw it. That was like it might have been the worst debut in the sense that like you come out there, you're the last entrant, everybody's looking at you, you go right to the ring to do your big move, and then you just fall.
Yeah.
Like fashion.
Who do you think had the worst debut, him or Shockmaster at this point?
Shockmaster still to this day.
It's got to be it's probably gonna have to be Shockmaster, because realistically, like his was on a bigger. It seemed like it was on a bigger platform in some kind of ways. I forget what the situation was.
The Sting and the Bulldog, I believe, were announcing a third mystery tag team partner for a pay-per-view.
And it was like a smaller, wrestling as a whole was like a smaller thing in the sense that like it was easier to see all of it.
Yeah.
And so this Matt's hot thing happened on a pay-per-view that people weren't. It was like nothing against AEW. I'm a fan, obviously. I got these posters and stuff.
Yeah.
It's not a thing that's really kind of on that level.
Yeah.
As far as like percentage of people watching, at least I don't think so. So that one, it kind of carried a little bit more weight. But nowadays, like the other thing that kind of gives the Matt Sydal one a little edge is that the news traveled a lot faster.
It traveled real fast.
Well, I'll say this: if you thought wrestling was real back then with during that time, Shockmaster really had you questioning a lot of things.
Yeah, especially coming out with like a stormtrooper helmet.
Yeah, with a bedazzled stormtrooper helmet.
Yeah, that's especially like when you look later, it's like some people had some pretty solid get-ups. You know what I mean? Like you look at say like what Mankind had later, like his mask, and look at like the Vader Mastodon thing he had going on.
I was done with the Sub-Zero thing they had in WCW. That's what kind of like I'm like they bought a Mortal Kombat character out every week in WCW.
Yeah, that's how I felt when I saw Mustafa Ali like at WrestleMania or something. Yeah, I think it was like the New Orleans one.
Yeah,
right?
He had the Sub-Zero mask and everything on.
Yeah, because like it's like, look, they did the Glacier thing a while ago, and that was at a time frame and was kind of like okay-er, because they had Wrath and Mortis, and they had people that were dressed up already.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of on the tail end of the dressing up side of things in that way, anyway. Later on, it was like you would have characters, but they wouldn't be so over the top. I'm like, sorry, when I was starting to say over the top, I started thinking of the oddities.
Oh, I was thinking about when they had Goldust B6 in WCW.
I remember that very vaguely.
Greatest shoot promo ever.
Yeah, it comes out and just like rips WCW and WWE like one promo.
But I'm like, but you did all the vignettes for the thing. Like you didn't complain beforehand.
Yeah. And then now he continued to roll in. You know, that's pretty much his legacy.
Right.
Man, that is. Yeah, there have been a lot of weird things that happen through the course of like wrestling history, you know, and so much of it that like you would forget about until somebody talks about it to you, which is kind of one of the cool things about doing these, because there are certain things that wouldn't really cross my mind until other people bring it up or whatever. But like, you know that it happened because it's in the way back of your head or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But but all in all, though, like I know we've been on here for a bit, so about time to get it wrapped up and all that, so we can move on with our days. So I gotta. I think I might do a little recording just after this. I keep forgetting to do my one of those Nike ID videos or whatever. So I might do that after this. But so you guys want to go ahead and tell people, get the things. I mean, unless you had anything else that you were gonna say, didn't want to cut you off.
No, I'm pretty good. I enjoyed this conversation as well.
Yeah.
A bit more relaxed, I feel, since it's such a broad scope of things to talk about.
That's one of the coolest things. Yeah, definitely.
Nah, but yeah, I'm good. I'm good as well. Like I said.
Okay, cool. Because I know, I think usually it's about an hour and a half or so.
Mm-hmm.
So we're at 1:40. So if you guys want to go ahead and hit your little outros.
Yeah, I go first. Yeah, it's Jezzy Christ, aka Thriller. Like I said, appreciate you having me on Shoes Up, Sleeves Down. Also seeing you again, Derek. I should have another video up probably. If not today, it'll be tomorrow. But if you want to find me, you can find me at Jezzy Christ, aka Thriller, and also on IG at Jezzy Christ 1. But yeah, appreciate you having me on as always. And that's it.
Yeah. All right.
And I'm Derek Explosion Armstrong. You can catch me here at least once or twice a month. Jezzy, good to see you again. Looking forward to doing one of these again. So I got some catching up on videos to do. So hopefully I'll be able to knock y'all's videos out.
Yeah.
This weekend. Well, for me, the weekend is Saturday, Sunday, Monday because I only work 3 days a week. So. Or 4 days a week. Wow, my math sucks. It's that Southern education kicking in. But yeah, glad to have glad to be on again.
yeah, it's a good time. It always is. I'm glad you guys were able to make time for it. We'll talk after this to figure out when we're gonna do the action figure thing, because again, I lose track of the calendar sometimes. So
yeah,
it happens, but we'll figure something out. But again, thank you to both of you for coming through. Again, these conversations are always good because there's not a whole lot of ways to be very social right now. You know what I'm saying? So this is definitely nice to do. But thanks again, and I'll be seeing you guys later. And to anybody out there watching, have a nice rest of your day or rest of your night, whatever it is, wherever you are. I have some videos that you can watch. Jezzy has some videos that you can watch. Derek is worth watching on Instagram, I guess, because he doesn't have any YouTube videos. But go ahead and give him.
I got an amazing Chick-fil-A story on there right now.
Yeah, I've seen.
Okay, I'm gonna have to go and check that out. All right, we'll see you later, people.
All right. See y'all.